Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Nature Seed Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Pordelli. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of the company, having started Nature Seed over 20 years ago with my wife, Beth, and since then it's been our honor to have served over 500,000 Americans by offering them the best supplements we can make. Today, we're going to be talking about joint health and something that you probably haven't considered as contributing to joint health, which is cucumber. You associate cucumber with eating salads or something else, but not really joint health. And to help us explore and break it all down, we are joined once again, we welcome back to the podcast, Andrea Zangara, who's the Director of Scientific Communication at Euromed. Euromed is a leading botanical provider in the supplement industry located in Spain. You may remember Andrea from discussing Pomnex P30, their pomegranate extract, which is top-notch. Andrea, great to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Absolutely. So, Andrea, as I said, most people don't associate cucumbers with joint health. Where did this all start from? Was the inspiration, as is with a lot of botanicals, traditional use, or something else?
Well, the idea actually comes from both traditional uses and modern sciences. Historically, cucumbers have been a big part of the Mediterranean diet. And, we have quite a large portfolio of Mediterranean fruit and vegetable extracts. So we always gather most of the inspiration for our new product development from the Mediterranean diet, which is really famous for its health benefit and very, very much evidence-based. So the diet is packed with fruits, vegetables, and cucumbers, which are super hydrating and nutritious. But also in Ayurveda, so in the traditional health system of India, cucumbers have been used for sort of cooling and anti-inflammatory effect, and also for the skin, and to support overall health. And nowadays, science backs this up too. So new research have found that cucumbers contain different active components like flavonoids, tannins, sugars, amino acids, which have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, pain-relieving properties, and even cosmetic properties. So it's really a cool mix of old school wisdom and modern research behind our inspiration.
Yeah, cucumbers, we really haven't seen many cucumber extracts and supplements at all, joint health or otherwise. But what are some of the nutritional compounds in cucumber that are important for joint health?
Well, cucumbers are quite impressive nutritionally, although they contain a lot of water, but that also makes them nutritionally interesting because they are very hydrating. But obviously, they are low in calories, but they pack a good amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fiber. And one of the standout features from our perspective is the amino acid content. And amino acids are the building blocks of proteins, and they are essential for repairing and maintaining joint tissues. They are also containing vitamins, for example, vitamin D2 and D3, which are important for calcium absorption. And they contain polyphenols, flavonoids, and minerals like potassium, which is also really important for fluid balance in joint health. So quite a lot of interesting compounds there.
So I don't know if I mentioned that Euromed, you make the CuberUp cucumber extract for joint health. And what's interesting about it is, really interesting to me, is you only need about 20 milligrams a day.
Yeah.
To have a significant effect, which is pretty small. You don't need large amounts of, sometimes some things we need a gram or, very large doses. But with the CuberUp cucumber extract, you've been able to show it works at just 20 milligrams a day. I know you said that cucumbers have a lot of water. I imagine the nutrients you're referring to essentially occur in cucumbers in relatively small amounts. Is there a way to put this in context as 20 milligrams? How many cucumbers it takes to make a 30-day supply of CuberUp, or how else can we really just put in some type of context?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's definitely impressive. So it's also down to the extraction procedure and the purity of the extract. So sometimes if the extract it's more pure, you really it's more bioavailable and you really require a smaller amount. But to put that in perspective in terms of fresh vegetables, let's say that 20 milligrams daily serving of CuberUp, it's equivalent to about 70 grams of cucumber. So quite similar to one cucumber. So that's probably the closest comparative. About 3/4 one cucumber per day. So while this maybe does not sound a lot, but there are smart reason for using the extract instead of eating cucumbers, of course. So, of course, the extract gives you a consistent and precise dose of beneficial compounds. And in the fresh cucumbers, like in any other vegetables, these compounds can vary depending on factors like growing condition, ripeness, and etc. And secondly, not everyone is able to buy fresh cucumbers every day, and digestive discomfort is an issue for some people with raw vegetables. So the fact that it's equal to one cucumber shouldn't lead people to eat every day one cucumber instead of taking an extract. Although, why not? In the salad, if your stomach can handle it, it's delicious.
No, I mean, we don't, you could do both. You take your CuberUp as well as enjoy your cucumber salad or whatever, however you enjoy them. So cucumber extracts for joint health, as I mentioned, are still kind of emerging and relatively new on the scene in supplements. Can you tell us what separates maybe CuberUp from other cucumber ingredients in the market? Maybe you could talk a little bit about where the cucumbers are grown and how you extract the nutrients to maximize potency?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. What really sets up CuberUp from other extracts is our strict quality control, which is traditionally known since more than 50 years, and our unique extraction process as well. Plus, our cucumbers are grown in Spain, and here in the Murcia region, we have the best conditions to ensure superior nutrient profile. So the climate, the soil, etc. And we choose a specific markers or specific active ingredient, active compounds that we believe are within the components supporting this spectacular effect. And this is an amino acid or an amino derivative called citrulline, L-citrulline. So it's part of a pool of amino acids which CuberUp contains, not less than 50%. And this pool of amino acid is expressed actually as citrulline, which we make sure it never goes below 2%, but it's definitely higher than that. So we concentrate these compounds through our pure hydro process, which is an eco-friendly extraction using a continuous water extraction. So this process is gentle and preserves the integrity of the potency of the active ingredients. And actually, it makes the work of our gut easier to absorb nutrients, because there could be potential interferences from other compounds or from impurities and so on. So besides making sure that we have no residual solvents or chemicals using this extraction process, this process also ensures the extreme bioavailability, natural bioavailability of CuberUp.
Yeah, no, it's the HydroPure technology you use on a lot of your extracts, and
Correct.
It's pretty much as good as it gets when you're looking at botanical or herbal extracts. So maybe now we can talk a little bit about how CuberUp and cucumber extracts help support joint health. As I understand it, the research is still trying to get better answers to this question. But what do we currently know?
Well, it's true, research is in its infancy regarding cucumber efficacy for joint health, and there are various schools in approaching this topic. Our specific focus, as I mentioned, is on amino derivatives, particularly L-citrulline. So L-citrulline is converted in our body into L-arginine, another amino acid that directly helps produce nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is crucial because it's a vasodilator compound, so improves blood flow, and better circulation means more essential nutrients and oxygen-reaching joint tissues, promoting repair and maintenance. And secondly, nitric oxide has anti-inflammatory properties, so reduces joint inflammation, which is a major cause of pain and damage in various conditions. Plus, L-citrulline has antioxidant properties and anti-inflammatory properties, and it certainly works in synergy with other components in the extract. For example, we recently identified large amounts of gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, in our extract, which is now standardized to the same level as it was the extract in the study. And actually, it is really synergized well with another compound in your formula, which is palmitoethanolamide, or PEA, and really seems to add an important piece of the puzzle in understanding the right synergy of components in cucumber extract for joint health.
There's a lot of interesting stuff you mentioned there, so maybe just break it down a little bit more. So, were you suggesting, Andrea, that the CuberUp may help promote the synthesis of nitric oxide in the body, which maybe helps deliver more blood flow and nutrients to the joint, cavity, joint cartilage, whatever it might be, to help promote healthier joints? Is that the effect you're seeing with the nitric oxide?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it not only that, but it promotes inducible nitric oxide, so has a lot of different biochemical activities, including strong anti-inflammatory and antioxidant activities. So I would say it's a combination of vasodilating and control of the inflammatory response, which is promoted by L-citrulline biochemical pathway in developing further compounds in our bodies.
And you mentioned GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that we most associate with the brain and helping the brain relax and function, so you can maybe function better. What do you think that maybe GABA is doing in CuberUp to help maybe support joint health?
Well, it mediates pain modulation. So, like PEA, it's active in the brain, and we know that because it promotes calmness, sleep, but also it has other properties which are active in other organs or tissues. So it's also anti-inflammatory, and as I said, really specific for modulating the pain perception. So we really believe that those two compounds together and combined with other things that little by little we will investigate. Actually, we opened a large research study on this compound to understand better what it works so well. But definitely, those two are good guys.
That's interesting, and you may have heard Andrea reference PEA, which is another ingredient in our joint formula. You may have seen my recent podcast on Levagen Plus, which is a source of PEA, and I know it's a little bit near and dear to Andrea's heart because, Andrea, why is that so?
It's correct. PEA is really related to GABA, and it's also related somehow to my family history as or story. You never know with Italians' fathers how much is legend and how much is true. But my father was a young researcher in Italy, in Torino, and he was working in the lab of Rita Levi-Montalcini, which was a Nobel candidate. And Rita Levi-Montalcini, Professor Montalcini, was exploring the discovery of nerve growth factor. And one of the compounds related to nerve growth factor is PEA. And to study its efficacy, she required a lot of eggs. So my dad and other research assistants were really puzzled why Professor Montalcini needed so many eggs in her lab. Bottom line, yes, it's definitely interacting synergistically with PEA. So I believe the perception of discomfort, besides the anti-inflammatory effects, is probably substantially increased by your very smart formula.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate that. So essentially, we're saying that the body uses PEA and GABA as a response to when it's feeling discomfort or maybe stress to help it manage what you feel in your body. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's actually one of the few compounds that so far has scored quite high with neuropathy. And neuropathy, it's an important thing for a lot of people, and it's mostly related to the feeling of pain, the perception of pain. So anti-inflammatories do not necessarily work in neuropathy, but you really need to modulate how the brain perceives the discomfort feeling. And in this case, both PEA and GABA do work there specifically.
So let's now maybe turn to the exact findings. You published a recent clinical study with CuberUp. I think it was in the journal Applied Sciences, and you had really some really interesting results. I think it was a study over age 40 in people who were experiencing knee discomfort. Maybe before we get into the findings, can you just outline a little bit the parameters of the study?
Certainly, Carl. Yes, the study was conducted at the Catholic University of San Antonio, or UCAM, in Spain. It was an 8-week randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial. The participants were taking either placebo or CuberUp, and neither the participant nor the researcher knew what they were receiving. The participants were 55. There were 26 men and 29 women. And as you said, they were, yes, all over the age of 40. They were actually, average age was around 50 years, 50.6. So we're looking at middle-agers, which is a group very keen in protecting their joint functions. So yes, then they were split into two groups, and then throughout the study, the researcher measured various outcomes, including knee discomfort, stiffness, physical function, muscle function, and so on.
Yeah, one of the nice features of this study is you look at a wide spectrum of factors, right? You mentioned you looked at participants' assessments of their discomfort and stiffness in the knee. But then you also kind of explored blood markers and also the functional performance of the knee, which is great to corroborate what people believe they're feeling and reporting to you. Maybe we could discuss each one of those a little bit, starting with the joint discomfort and stiffness. How did CuberUp fare in this regard?
Yes, the research protocol was indeed very comprehensive. Researchers developed really a thorough protocol that covered multiple perspectives of efficacy, from subjective assessment, objective assays, using a dynamometer and the blood markers. Talking about discomfort and stiffness, participants taking CuberUp, they experienced a significant improvement versus placebo. But not only that, the researchers were able to contact the participants weekly and to track their progress. And then they draw the graph of the improvement, and it's clear that the improvement started from week 1, so a very rapid onset of activity. It has to be said that the improvement became statistically significant compared to placebo after week 4. But it's still a rapid onset of activity. I was just completing because this was a measure was measured with the visual analog scales, and then the similar improvements were observed with the Western Ontario and McMaster University Index, or the WOMAC score, which is a bit the gold standard for assessment in these measures.
And like you said, it was a randomized placebo-controlled study. You have to, in joint health studies, really all good studies have placebo groups, but especially in joint health where there can be, especially early on, a very significant placebo effect. It's important to show that, as I think you said you did, you significantly outperformed the placebo group starting, I think, at week 4. And I assume that improved further through week 8. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, and then it was substantiated by the other measures of stiffness and pain.
Yeah, let's maybe talk about that a little bit. So you also did some work, or you measured how the knee was functioning with the help, was CuberUp having an impact on the ability to improve the function of the knee and measure changes in like things like knee flexibility and strength? What were the findings here?
Well, yes, absolutely. The point you made before about the objective or subjective nature of tests in joint health study is really important. In fact, self-assessment rating can vary a lot because personal perception and mood about or daily activities even. So, for example, participants in self-assessment scale, they have to rate their knee discomfort on a scale 0 to 10. And that this can also be influenced how they are feeling that day. So it's really important to include in those studies also objective assessment, which, to get to the second point of your question, is what the researcher did. They included, for example, a dynamometer, which measured the knee strength and flexibility. So the dynamometer is able to precisely quantify muscle function and strength during knee flexion and extension. And this is obviously is not influenced by personal bias. So in this case, the participant taking CuberUp substantially improved versus placebo in knee flexion and extension strength. So this means that they did not only feel better subjectively, but also their muscle function and strength improved. And it's absolutely also related to the joint functionality, because otherwise you would not be able to exert an effort with your muscles if you don't feel comfortable with your joints.
No question about it. And, it's also important. Sometimes these changes happen very, very slowly. So you don't even know it. Sometimes you don't even know what's happening in terms of the week-to-week improvements. And then finally, after 2 months, when you have a clinical test or some professionals actually doing assessments like this, it really shows how much you've improved. And so do you recall, was the improvements in the flexibility and the strength, was that also significant?
We were not expecting an improvement in muscle functions, but this also makes sense considering that we pinpointed citrulline as an important compound, because as you certainly know, citrulline is quite popular also for muscle functions and so on. So there may be something there.
Absolutely. It's something else, Andrea, that we like to see in joint health studies, and I think more studies are incorporating these tests, are really kind of showing, joint function, how it may improve during the course of daily activities, whether it be walking, climbing stairs. And I know here you did something called the timed up and go test. What is this, and why is it important, and what were the findings?
Yes, the timed up and go, it's an interesting measure of functional mobility. It's simple, but very effective. So it's done by researchers, so it's an objective measures. And the researchers are timing how long it takes a participant to stand up from a chair, walk 3 meters, turn around, walk back, and sit down again. So this assess balance, strengths, and mobility, which are all critical for daily activities. And the participant taking CuberUp improved in terms of timing on average 1.5 seconds. So they were 1.5 seconds faster in completing the timed up and go test. So it's not a trivial amount of time. I mean, it's quite important. And really, this indicates better functional mobility, reduced risks of fall, and basically confirms the enhancement of overall mobility, we believe.
Yeah, it's a simple test, but as you said, it's important. I mean, just to stand up, you have to have your knees feeling pretty good to stand up, more quickly or easily, and then walk about 3 meters, which I think is about 10 feet or so, and come back and another 10 feet, and then sit back down again comfortably. So, yeah. That's not, 1.5 seconds in that short of a, that type of.
Correct. If you put in the perspective, it's quite a substantial reduction of time. Yes, correct.
So you also, as we mentioned, took blood samples to measure biomarkers of like a healthy inflammation response and how CuberUp may help protect joint cartilage and kind of, just reduce the effects of normal wear and tear over time. What did these tests find?
Yes, we did include biomarkers, and particularly related to inflammation response control and cartilage health. This to give us a better understanding of the effects of the extract at the biochemical level. So the biomarkers were interleukin 1 beta, or IL-1 beta, and matrix metalloproteinase 3, or MMP3. So IL-1 beta is a pro-inflammatory cytokine, so it's actually driving inflammation within the joints. And of course, high level of this compound are associated with increased joint discomfort. And instead, MMP3 is an enzyme involved in the breakdown of cartilage. So generally, elevated levels of MMP3 indicate an ongoing cartilage degradation, which could be age-associated, for example. So a participant taking CuberUp showed a significant reduction in both these biomarkers, so IL-1 beta and MMP3, compared to placebo. And interestingly, actually, the placebo group actually showed a higher level of IL-1 beta compared to their baseline. So they lost the control of their inflammatory response without the supplement. And this really suggests that the product effective in reducing the inflammatory response and slowing down cartilage breakdown. And it's interesting because also it's another element of synergy with your formula, which contains a source of collagen. And because MMP3, reducing MMP3 level also protects collagen from degradation. So yes, it helps maintain structural integrity and elasticity of joint cartilage.
No, that's a great observation. Thank you for that. I mean, that's something you guys may want to explore in future research. With CuberUp, for example, the collagen comes from eggshell membrane in our formula, and they measured urinary CTX2, which basically looks at how much collagen fragments are really kind of breaking off and from the cartilage and degrading and excreted from the body through urine. I wouldn't be surprised, Andrea, if you guys measured that in CuberUp, given you're shown how you protect the cartilage through helping control MMP3 activity better. I wouldn't be surprised if you too also find that you're helping reduce the amount of collagen fragments being excreted through urine.
We are very intrigued by this property, and we think it's also applicable to a number of other health properties, potential health properties of the extract. So spot on, really.
Absolutely. Well, great study. I mean, you show right away you can, within weeks, can help significantly reduce joint comfort and joint stiffness. You also show the ability to strengthen the knee and improve flexibility. You did the timed up and go test. Just, again, another way to show joints are feeling better and functioning better and reduce the time significantly on that. And then also further proved out, these effects by measuring blood markers, the biomarkers in the body, which again improves significantly. So that's a pretty comprehensive package.
Absolutely. And of course, we never forget to include the safety measures in all the studies. It's really important, even though the product, it's theoretically safe, it's coming from a stable source, from a diet, and so on. But it's important to monitor safety. And in this case, there was nothing unusual. There was some mild gastrointestinal discomfort, which is common with dietary supplements, but in any case was more or less on par with the placebo. So I would say that from all the perspective, CuberUp can be confidently recommended to any person to maintain healthy joints and reduce the normal wear and tear effect.
No, there's no question about it. You have that immediate effect where maybe you're feeling a little better within a few weeks based on the study. And then over time, you're really helping you protect your joint function by protecting that cartilage, which is so key to really, as we all get older here, how our joints perform over the longer term. So great ingredient.
Thank you.
Great. I'm really happy you brought up the safety aspect of it because that's important to us also. the fact that there aren't any really unwanted effects when we take these supplement ingredients, or at least notable ones that we observed in either the research or by use of the ingredient. Is there anything else, Andrea, that you'd like to share about CuberUp?
Yeah, well, I just would like to take the opportunity to emphasize that CuberUp, it's true that our key target is healthy middle-aged individuals concerned about wear and tear from activities like sports, but we are also focusing on younger generation, and younger people nowadays are increasingly aware of the importance of prevention. And really, CuberUp offers benefits for maintaining joint health at any age. And there's also one ingredient that synergizes very well with other natural compounds. And as your formula, it's a great example of how combining complementary ingredients can address joint health needs holistically. So, yes, well done. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to present our CuberUp.
No, absolutely. I mean, more and more younger folks who are active, are looking to help support their joints and help their recovery from all that activity or exercise. And, is also looking forward and just trying to act today to protect their joints tomorrow, which is great. I applaud them for that. And you're so right. Our True Joint FLX formula, which incorporates CuberUp, among the other ingredients that some of which we've discussed. Really, what we try to do, Andrea, with that formula is we don't want to have overlapping kind of mechanisms of action. We wanted to have a combination of ingredients that all add a little something different to the formula and how they work in the body, maybe then hopefully giving, a better overall effect than if you're just taking one of these by itself. And certainly CuberUp is very novel in that regard in terms of how it works in the body. So really, really excited, to have it in our formula, which we just upgraded. It's now available. If anyone listening really wants to check out CuberUp and True Joint FLX, please go to natureseed.com. You can read more about it and get your bottle and see for yourself how it works. So, Andrea, thank you so much. As always, wonderful insights. I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today.
Pleasure, Carl. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Look forward to speaking more with you on some of the other Euromed ingredients that we use. And again, folks, CuberUp, you can find it in True Joint FLX, natureseed.com. That's it for this week's episode. I will see you next week. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see future episodes of the Nature Seed podcast. You can also catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to listen to the shows. And this is Carl Pradelli, and I'll see you next week.